My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. Okay, so this is back to my beat, and I kind of went off. I saw some things and had to comment on them, of course. It's the typical stuff. The unseen hand. Quick word about that. Realistically, YouTube is an amazing tool. It's an amazing environment, community, if you will. But the reality is that it's not really a free, open marketplace of ideas necessarily. It is, but there has to be a certain amount of control, and the reason for that is because, just realistically wise, you can't put weapons in the hands of you can't put weapons in the hands of little people. You can't put dangerous weapons in the hands of little people. The pen is mightier than the sword. It just so happens that narrative communication can be extraordinarily dangerous. So you can't put tools in the hands of ordinary folks to be able to say, bring down a multi-billion-dollar corporation with a few words and a momentary perception without seeing all the angles and things like that. So they sort of, YouTube was maybe more of a Wild West type of situation, but that Wild West is used by people who really know what they're doing. I mean, nefarious operators to make a quick buck because they know the algorithm. So it's a beast that's hard to tame. I'm going to get to this, what you see behind you here. That's the 2-meter temperature anomaly from climatereanalyzer.org. I like Climate Reanalyzer because I like the graphics. They don't move. They don't really show you the wind speeds and all that fancy stuff, but it's nice and crisp, and it's clean and clear and easy to understand. But so I just want to touch on this real quick. Alphabet, who owns Google and YouTube, they contract out their moderation, their site moderation. Site moderation on a site like YouTube, which is the second most used website in the world, is a monster. Okay, site moderation on something like that, on this beast, is monstrous and difficult. So they farm out site moderation too, and I'm not going to name them. I don't give a shit. It's a reality of life. You have to have it. You have to have site moderation because in places around the world, social media has been used to actually trigger no bullshit, real fucking genocide. So you got to have it. And how the hell are you going to do it? I mean, it's like you can't monitor every little thing in a site as big as YouTube. It's just a reality. It's just something that you have to do. So, you're going to... I use their site moderation. It's kind of a game. In a way, it's kind of a game to me. It tells me what's going on, what's really going on. The reason I make videos really is to learn. And one of the biggest things I'm trying to learn is the social media mechanism. What it is, how it works, how much of it is really organic people, and how much of it is the machine. Because you have bots that do moderation, and you have actual human people that sit down and watch videos. And I'm not going to get into it here now. I might get into it later on my other channel, the News from the Can channel. But basically, there's stuff out there that they really don't want the general public to sort of like be too much aware of. So things that are advertiser friendly. people from the left, if you're supposedly from the left and you're a certain race and things like that, there's scripts that if you don't read from the right script, and depending on who you are, then you get shuffled off the grid. You get shuffled off the stack. There's a stack. The videos are in an information stack, and your video will not get passed around to other viewers if it doesn't meet a certain criteria. It's just a fact. It's just how it is. So narrative overall is sort of reinforced. It's just, that's how it is. So alphabet, we see a lot of these things about, we're just watching Tucker Carlson talking about how Google supposedly is like running narrative in favor of the left, and that's horseshit. Advertiser friendly on YouTube. What does that mean? It means that moderation skews to the right. It skews to the owner class. It skews to the multinational corporations. That's all right-wing, conservative, conserve the wealth thing, because they're the ones who have the money. And if you don't pander to the people who have the money, then you won't exist very long. So basically, that's the bottom line. If you're going to do YouTube, that's my advice to anybody starting a YouTube channel. Pander to the wealth. If you start a restaurant or any other business and you try to cater to the needs of poor folks, people that don't have a lot of money, you're going to have a hard time staying in business, because it's a nice concept, it's a nice idea to be of service. I mean, and that's really, you're going to want to be of service ultimately, but sooner or later you're going to have to, in some form or another, you're going to have to pander to the people with money. You're going to have to pander to the people who have money and power. And, a lot of pandering is done to Fox News. Fox News is mainstream media. Fox News has been number one in the ratings for 20 years. So they are ostensibly mainstream media. And without getting into that, I don't want to get into all that. But so anyway, I pointed this out because I made some comments on some Fox News, Tucker Carlson videos and things, and my subscribers took a hit. And so there's a whole thing. They'll punish you if you go against the grain and you're not the right person. So if you're on the left and you want to get anywhere, you have to have an advanced degree, like a master's degree or a PhD from an Ivy League school, or you have to be, it's a lot more difficult to make a name for yourself. And if you're a convicted felon, forget about it. You are not welcome in the visually seen, in the talking head hierarchy. You are not welcome. Bottom line, period. And even if you do, it's like you got to fit a certain socioeconomic thing. But on the right, on the other hand, yeah, you can be a working class, just regular person, dude or dudess, and they're all, if you look at Fox News, Sean Hannity, this guy makes he's worth a few $100 million. He's rich as 10 feet up a bull's ass. But he's got a blue collar background. He started off as a working dude and got on radio back in the 80s, and then it was him and Sean Hannity and Combs. I forget what that guy's name was. His name Sean too? Combs? I can't remember. It was Combs and Hannity and Combs, whatever. I don't remember what happened to Combs. I don't know if he's still around, alive, or what, but he was the guy on the left. That was back in the day when Fox News used to do sort of had both voices at the same time, and now it's just one voice because they really found out they don't have to, and so so where am I going with that? Yeah, so if you're, you know, there's things that you can't just like say whatever you want. And people who are really slick on this platform, they know the script. You got to read from the script. You can't go off script. You're not allowed to go off script, or your video gets shelved. And I don't really want to, you know, I don't really want to play the game, frankly. I'm a convicted felon, you know, and so, and I, you know, I ran afoul of Rachel Maddow and Stephen Colbert. I made a thing on Daily Kos one time that said Stephen Colbert is a schmuck, and that's because of the shtick that he had with a revolver. That was like mind-bogglingly, just like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And we'd play with had a revolver, and it was a stunt revolver, obviously, and I guess he had a name for it or something, and he would pull it out, just like, it just made my blood curdle whenever I saw it. So I made a post that said, Stephen Colbert is a schmuck, you know, and he is kind of schmucky. He is. That's his shtick, though. His shtick is that he's schmucky. You know, he is. A schmuck is just kind of like a, you know, like Jerry Lewis was kind of schmucky. You know, it's not, you're not really a dick. He's just kind of schmucky. You know, it's his shtick. It's his thing. And Rachel Maddow, I did a video on another one of my other channels, where I basically just told her, look, why don't you do the fucking news? And that was a while back now. Rachel Maddow is fucking awesome, you know. When she's connecting the dots, she's the best on TV. The best face on TV. Bar none. I mean, she's like a phenomenon. Totally. Love her. Love Maddow. Been watching her nonstop since the beginning of the pandemic and the whole election debacle and all that stuff. But a few years ago, Chris Christie was involved in something called Bridgegate, where there was some kind of issue with a bridge, because he's the governor of he was the governor of New Jersey, and there was some kind of issue. They did there was some screwing around, political fuckery having to do with the bridge, and there was some traffic stopped, and some emergency traffic was not allowed to go through, and Rachel Maddow went on and on and on about fucking Bridgegate, man. Chris Christie, I guess they thought maybe he was a contender for the next presidential race or whatever, so she just beat it like a dead horse. And then one night, and I can't remember when it is, it's been a while, the video's still around. It's not, you can't see it because I took it private. It's on another channel. It does something completely different now. And basically, it was in another character that I was doing at the time. And what happened is that, so I turn on Rachel Maddow. I just want to see what's going on. The whole entire first half of Rachel Maddow's show is about Bridgegate. But this is on the same day that the Russians iron booted the Crimea. And so we see the news about the Russians iron booting the Crimea after the half. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why isn't that like a top story? How come I didn't see that? I got to go through all this Bridgegate, and it's like stuff that was just not even news. So they found some 911 tapes and stuff, just not like no information and not really that fucking germane. Nobody even remembers Bridgegate, what it even was or meant or cares. But you're gonna remember about iron booting the Crimea, and I got pissed off. I was like, fuck, man. Why don't you just do the news? Which, she does do the news, and she's great, and she's the best, and all that kind of stuff. And my point was, like, I said, look, I mean, I could watch Rachel Maddow do the weather. I like, I like looking at her face. I mean, I know she's a lesbian and all that stuff, and I respect that. But everybody loves Rachel Maddow. I mean, I love Rachel Maddow. Really do. I mean, agape. We're talking about agape love here, okay? Don't get it twisted, because some people go crazy with that shit. But she's like, your pal. She just feel like you really know her, and you like to see her, and you like to hear what she has to say. And I could literally just watch her just do the news. I mean, just do stuff. Just read the wire. Just read the stuff off the wire. And that's what I was saying. Just read this. You could just, if you don't really know what you want to do or whatever, just read the stuff off the wire. Because sometimes it seemed like she phoned the shit in. So I did that video, and that had lasting repercussions from people who are just sort of, I don't know, maybe it's like the gay mafia or something, which I'm like, not, I have no problem with gay people, gay people probably should have a mafia, really. I mean, people who have a shared interest do need to sort of watch each other's back, and that's what that is. Call it a mafia, whatever. They're very good at that. And those of the Hebrew faith also do that kind of stuff, and you can't blame them because of the Holocaust, which also killed a lot of homosexuals and a lot of other people. The only people who are really not allowed to sort of watch each other's back in any sort of cogent way without being declared white supremacists are white people. And white people, middle-aged white men are the backbone of the blue-collar workforce. They're all your diesel mechanics and carpenters and drywall hangers and roof people and so on. I know a lot of black people that do roofs and stuff like that. There's they kind of sort of move into their respective areas and stuff, but whatever. And but my point is that one of the 48 the 48 rules of power, don't piss off powerful people. So I've tested all those boundaries and limits to see to see how the machine works. And the machine is a machine. What it does is it offers you false hope that you too can be a star. And the fact is it probably not. You're not going to be able to say whatever you want. It's containment. It's false hope and containment. It's all about containing the masses. Keeping the masses contained. Keeping the masses contained and predictable. Because it's a money stream. Keeping that money stream reliable to the people, everybody who's got a 401k. It's not just, the people who really run shit are not necessarily ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is powerful, but the people who are really pushing the tool, pushing the big tool, anybody who's got a 401k, which is a lot of people. Your mom, Pa, and Aunt Beru, And a lot of those people 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. And a big portion of those people did that to hedge their bet to protect their 401k. And it's like they didn't care that the man was a pedophile. They didn't care that he's a complete piece of shit. You know what I mean? They didn't care that he's a complete piece of shit. And you are not allowed to say that Donald Trump's a complete piece of shit unless you're a certain people. Right? Because they'll squelch your video. They're, the people who are contracted out that Alphabet and YouTube have, Google and YouTube have contracted out to do their site moderation will squelch your shit if you point out the simple fact that Donald Trump is a piece of shit. He's a steaming fucking lump of human shit. If you point out, and it's just like, reams of evidence, just endless amounts of video. But if you're not the right person saying this stuff, you can be Stephen Colbert and talk about it all day long. But if you're anybody else, site moderation will come in and clip your balls off. Same thing with Vladimir Putin. Don't say anything bad about Vladimir Putin, right? It's like, it's kind of fascinating. See who really runs things. So now let's get to this. Narrative, right? Global warming. And it's a wedge issue. Global warming is a wedge issue. So a lot of it is the environment, the YouTube environment, the Google environment is there to prop up wedge issues, to keep the fight going, to keep ordinary people fighting with each other. Like if you try to bring people together and put the fire out, that's how you really get squelched. They like to keep the conflict going. If you promote conflict on any level, if you promote the wedge issues and promote the conflict, right, you're in. That's what they want. That's what it does. That's the containment. That's how they contain the masses, is they keep the masses fighting with each other over stupid stuff when most of us agree more than we disagree, by and large. Golden rule. Everybody believes in the golden rule, And if you show people the basic facts, if they know the facts, if you could find the facts, and that's the other thing, they keep it murky. They keep everything murky. Okay, so global warming. All I got to do is show you this. There it is. That is, I've put this video, I've shown this many times. You can go to Copernicus Atmospheric Monitoring Service. It's part of the European Space Agency. It's the Copernicus satellite. And what you're looking at, some of this is in the past, and some of it does a forecast. This is the amount of carbon dioxide. It's at the 50 hectopascal level, which is a pressure gradient. It's a pressure level, so it's right around 60,000 feet. It's in the stratosphere, and this is right around, you can see right here on this map, that's the equator. And that red right there looks like about 1,000 parts per million. 1,000 parts per million, that's 1 part in 1,000. In a cogent band around the equator. Now, what's that going to do? You can go and look at this yourself. What's that going to do? And it just, people look at that, like I showed it to my brother, and he doesn't know what he's looking at. He's like, doesn't mean anything to anybody. It's like they shrug, or they think, well, it's bullshit. But, that's the end of the argument right there. That's it. That's a wrap. See you, bye. Bye, see you. That cogent band, because that wasn't there 2 years ago. I've done many videos about this. You can go and look at my channel, and I don't know, maybe I'll put a link in the description, maybe not. I really don't give a fuck, frankly. Because, go back here. This is the current Friday, November 27th. This is same Friday, today. There it is. The white here is nominal. So let's see, it's between 1979 and 2000 is the baseline temperature. So white is nominal. It's the average temperature between 1979 and 2000 for November 27, 2000. November 27th. The blue there is obviously colder than nominal, and the red is warmer than nominal. So let's drill down into that a little bit. So what is that? That's 20 degrees above normal, above the 1979 to 2000 baseline right there, which also happens to be pretty much precipitation, clouds, precipitation, and it's snow. A lot of that red area, snow. Most of that red area is snow. Right? You need to click that. And it shifts it over. Click the maps, flips it over. This is interesting here. Now I want to show you this bit here. Snow. Right? See that bit right there up top? What is that? The Chukchi Sea? It's like between the eastern Siberia right up there. Yeah, it's snowing a little bit. Kind of cloudy. All right. Look, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. I'm not trying to tell anybody. I'm not fear-mongering. I'm not trying to, like, scare anybody. We're just talking about real shit here. Okay? And, you know, so look at this. This dude right here. Now, what you're looking at here, this is 500 hectopascals. This is geopotential height. And so what you're looking at is you're looking at the height of a pressure. And it's in, the height is in, it's 500 hectopascals. And so what you're looking, actually you're looking at the height. So the blue is 495 decameters, which is about 4,900 meters. Something like that. A decameter is tens of meters. Right, so multiply that by 10. And that's 4,950 meters is the height of 500 hectopascals. So it shows you the air bubbles, essentially. And here's this. So this air bubble here, this is an area of an upper level high. It has to do with temperature and pressure and stuff like that, but essentially it's an area of, the orange is high pressure and the blue is low pressure. And what you're looking at here is this is a higher, right? The orange is about 5,950 meters. So the 500 hectopascals is about 500 millibars. It's a pressure level. So, but that pressure level is at 5,950 meters versus 495. So this blue area is 4,950 meters, and this orange area is 5,950 meters. So this is a high bubble and a low spot. So the blue is the low spot and the orange is the high spot, and the air flows downhill. And when it does, because of Coriolis forces, it flows along this line here. And if you look at the jet stream, they kind of do it differently now. So, and you see that jet stream right there is the air flowing tangentially to the two air blobs, right? So the air wants to pass from this the high ground, which is the orange, down to the low ground, which is this, right? And that's where you get this band here of wind that's traveling from west to east. Because you're going from, if you go from more towards the equator to, if the air is flowing northward, it's going to outrun the Earth because the equator is spinning faster than the pole. And it causes the air. Anything that's, when the air is trying to move north, then it also is going to move to the east to outrun the Earth. So why is that important? It's important because sea level temperature is anomalously warm. Now, don't freak out. That's a lot of orange. And if you just said red hot, blue cold, you might freak out. But you got to look at the actual temperature. What's today? The 27th. Let's look at October 27th of, I think I went 2000 is pretty close. 20 years ago, right? 23, 4, 5, 6, 7. November 25th, 2020. Right? This. And it's a little different, right? Okay, so back in, this is 2020. Wow. And that's 2000. Huh. Looks like the cold has kind of shifted down a little bit. It's just not all that different. It's a little different, but it ain't, the seas are not boiling. When is that? That's 2000, and this is now. I mean, it just not, it just ain't really, when you look at the actual temperature. So you wonder who's zooming who here with the sea surface temperature anomaly. But if you don't really look at it and analyze it, you'll look at it and you go, oh my God. But having said that, this is a thing. Apparently, I mean, is the Copernicus Atmospheric Monitoring Service, is the European Space Agency, are they really gonna fabricate some shit? What's that like? They're really gonna fabricate this shit? Now they went back and forth and kind of sort of like, when I put my videos up and left a couple of comments on Potholers, one of Potholers' videos, all of a sudden shit started changing here on this site. And then they changed it back. They said, fuck it, because nobody gives a shit. They look at this and they go, who gives a shit? And so the point here is that, this is a blanket. This is the CO2 here. It's 1,000 parts per million. It is certainly a blanket. But there are dynamics about, when you hold that blanket, just like, when you got a blanket and it's cold out and you're holding it close to you, you're warm. But if you hold it out away from you and air is allowed to pass through between you and the blanket, you can get colder. But the question is, that's there. What the hell is it going to do? And it came, if you look at my videos, you're not going to see it now, but I mean, there was just methane, something that looked akin to a man-made methane pulse over the last year or two. This is the total column. That's what people look at most of the time. They look at this total column and they go, yeah, man, that's a lot. It's a lot of carbon dioxide, but you got to look at what's going on at the different levels. Surface level, right? Ain't that much CO2 at the surface level. And this, that's plant respiration and photosynthesis. And it oscillates over a 24-hour period. It comes and goes. The earth breathes. It's photosynthesis. It sucks all that carbon dioxide right out. You can see it. So, because of how this is, it's just painfully apparent that that band of carbon dioxide that you see there came from methane emissions from fracking, more than likely. And there was a lot of methane that was coming off from the Norway, Sweden, Finland area up here. So here's methane, and what is that? That's the total column right there. So you look at the surface level. Surface level, most of the methane in the world for the past 11,000 years has come from growing rice in India and China. I say 11,000 years sort of jokingly, but it's pretty close. There's been agriculture for at least 11,000 years. Started in I'm not going to remember what the valley is. In China. Wuhan? Not Wuhan. I'm sorry. Can't think of it right offhand. But anyway, it started in China. And you can see that methane, a lot of methane in Europe. And that's from, municipal gas and stuff like that, outhouses, whatever, and a lot of it's from oil and gas production, from fracking. You see it in the United States. Consistently on the coast in California, this blob just never goes away, and that's probably from liquefied natural gas, shipping that overseas, because they use natural gas to make motor oil, they use natural gas to make plastics. They use it for everything. They don't just burn it. They use it, natural gas as a feedstock to make pretty much everything we use in modern society, whether it's lubricants or plastic or paint or whatever the hell else, fuel. So, yeah, there it is. But anyway, there was kind of sort of a lot of activity a year ago, something like that, up in Northern Europe and Western Europe. I mean, you can see it for yourself. Just go to climate or Copernicus and look at it. So anyway, and as you go up, you go to 850 hectopascals, and I've said this also ad nauseum. There's a reason why all these reactive gases are listed here: ozone, particulate matter, sulfur dioxide. And I'm going to beat this like a redheaded stepchild too. Carbon dioxide is not the real planet killer. It's not, because it's plant food. It's not the real planet killer. The real planet killer, carbon dioxide, is a symptom of a dying planet due to acid rain. Nitrogen oxides, sulfur compounds, that's the planet killer, because that's acid rain kills everything. It'll turn the land into a wasteland, the water it kills everything. The Permian Triassic was caused from 6 trillion tons of sulfur compounds. Carbon dioxide was like a side order. So, yeah, you can create havoc, but probably it's going to turn cold more than anything else. Methane, you release a lot of methane, and it turns immediately into carbon dioxide and water. And it launches that carbon dioxide and water into the stratosphere. And when you put greenhouse gases in the stratosphere, it causes global cooling. So we're going to find out. It's there. We're going to find out. Okay, so this is 500 hectopascals, which is about 5,500 meters, about 18,000 feet. It's pretty easy to look. Just Google. I Googled 500 HPA height. So 500 hectopascals is about 5,000 millibars. It's a pressure. They use pascals. There's a reason for that. I don't remember what it is. Pascal is a really small amount. They use that a lot in laboratories because you're looking at small pressure, very small pressure differentials and things like that. That's fascinating, these blue holes here. So you notice that this is 18,000 feet, a lot of methane. Ozone at that same level, not really that compelling looking of a thing there. Methane, go back to methane. 10 kilometers, 30,000 feet is this level right here. Methane, so at about 30,000 feet, it starts to wane, but you see it starts to coalesces towards the equator. Around the equator, there's not as much ozone. Then step that up to 50 hectopascals, which again is it's about 60,000 feet, it's roughly right around there. And you'll notice ozone at 50 hectopascals, 60,000 feet, there's like a hole. Well, actually, there's a real hole. See that white there? That's like no ozone at all over the Antarctic. And that's right now today, November 27th. November 27th, 2020. Right? That's ozone. See a little more. That's showing you this air movement. That's kind of important. Okay, back to methane. There you go. So, not as much methane around the poles, right? As a matter of fact, that black right there around the Antarctica is black, means it's just devoid of methane. The blue, very much less, but right around the equator, you notice there's the cogent band of methane right there. There's also a cogent band of carbon dioxide, which is right here. And it kind of sort of matches. Let me start this up over here. So there it is. And, you know, that's going to do something. And that's all there is to it. What it's going to do, I don't know. But it wasn't there. This was not there 2 years ago. I'll see if I can find that slide. It's in one of my previous videos that I did, you know, way back when. This was not there. It came on suddenly. And I've got other videos where I use foul language, for emphasis. I do it because I'm just, you know what it is? I'm trying to be real. I make videos to learn. So I know really know what I'm talking about. And the only way you can really know what you're talking about is to put your dick in your hand and make a video. And then that way, then you're going to know. You're really going to know whether you're right, wrong, or going in the right direction, wrong direction. You really know what you're doing when you make a video. When you put your dick in your hand, make a video. Yeah, and put it out there. You learn things that are just hard to calculate, hard to enumerate. So, you got to put yourself out there. To me, that's what I do to learn. And I didn't know that much about the climate system or any of that other kind of stuff. But anyway, it's pretty obvious that this band of CO2 came from methane. I mean, that's where it came from, because if you step down, it just, you can kind of sort of tell. 300 hectopascals, right? It's just not, it's the concentration is a lot more. It's a lot more spread out. You can see that at 300 hectopascals, which is 30,000 feet, roughly. You can see the emissions from different areas, Europe and Spain, and somewhat. You can see emissions there, sure. I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist. It does exist. Of course it does. But as you go to 500 hectopascals, right, it's sort of like you see a lot more carbon dioxide around the Arctic region. 850 hectopascals, right, a lot less. Here, this is China. Let that run. China is wafting off every, you can just go down the list here, and China is just wafting off every reactive gas you can name. And more. Surface. So it's just, it's just painfully obvious that that this band at 50 hectopascals is coming from methane. So unless, they manufactured a site that only my computer is being shunted to, and I don't see anybody else talking about this, because this ends the conversation. Conversation's over. I mean, that's it. That's from a methane pulse. Pretty much, if you look at my channel, go through my videos, you'll see that this band of CO2 did not exist 2 years ago. And now it does. because of a whole bunch of methane that got released into the atmosphere. There it is. And here's what's going on with the Earth. This is today, November 27, 2020. There it is. This is, that's what your temperatures look like. And most of this red here, like I said, is precipitation. Snow, rain, right? Those big red, deep red areas. This precipitation, which should be worrisome because, right, we're going into winter, which means that the northern hemisphere above above 60, north 60, is going to be in darkness. And the land masses, the heat capacity of the land masses is much less than the heat capacity of the ocean. And if the oceans have retained a certain amount of heat, which, you got to look at the actual temperature and not this, because this is misleading. It's misleading because now it might be true. It might be true that these temperatures really are anomalously that much warmer, but it's misleading because it makes you think that that's a cogent temperature stratum, if you will, and it's not. That's a variance in temperature, but those temperatures look like this, so it's misleading. However, having said that, this is where it is. November 25th, 2020. Right? This is October 27th, 2000. Not really, it doesn't really look that. As a matter of fact, there's more ice now. November 25th, 2020. So, is it doom and gloom? Is the shit really going to hit the fan? I don't know, but, the reason that this doesn't really get out there, and a lot of people really haven't seen this, haven't really talked about it, is because you can go to these two sites, do your own comparison, look and see for yourself, and virtually everybody can just shut the fuck up. Oh, it's really happening. Oh, no, it's really not. Oh, there it is. There it is. There's the carbon dioxide. It wasn't there 2 years ago. It's there. This is what it's happening. This is what it's doing temperature-wise. More storms. We had a shit pile of storms this past year. Now there's a lot of storms that we go through that they go in cycles. In 2003, 4, somewhere in there, we had a lot of storms that came through Florida. And and this is something that goes through cycles, and we didn't have the Copernicus satellite before the Copernicus satellite was put up, so nobody really knows what the upper atmosphere looked like, what the atmosphere looked like. We didn't have imaging equipment, so nobody knows what the atmosphere looked like at any time during the entire Industrial Revolution, which, there may have been shit going on. The Dust Bowl was a global warming event that was mitigated by the planting of trees. They said, what about the temperature anomaly back then? Well, that was global warming because they cut down every fucking tree in California for the railroads, to feed the locomotives and to make railroad ties. Cut down every fucking tree in California. Like every tree in California. So, just about. Except for maybe the sequoias and stuff. So, and if you're going to have forest fires, you got to have forest management. So, everybody just, this back and forth, this politicization of shit, we got to just if the shit's going to hit the fan, it's not really a good time to be doing politics. You know what I mean? Let's figure out what's going on and get together on what to do about it. It's there, Now, I will say that it appears, Cam's Copernicus. If you go to the Copernicus website, they will tell you that the site is here. We provide consistent and quality controlled information related to air pollution and health, solar energy, greenhouse gases, and climate forcing everywhere in the world. Data associated development where environments will be undergoing maintenance because they're undergoing some maintenance. And there's a little blurb down here where they say that basically this whole thing is here. CAMS is continually monitoring air quality in Europe and around the world using satellite and ground-based observations and advanced numerical models. And it's astounding that they're able to do it and put their ass on the line and say, yeah. In the context of the worldwide COVID-19 crisis, there is increased interest in changing air quality and specific. Okay, and there was a global shutdown also. And one of the things you heard from Guy McPherson, I don't like to bitch about, I don't like to get on Guy McPherson's case too much. You know, everybody's concerned about species annihilation. Yeah, we got to do something about that. So I don't want to harp on him too much. But something he brought up is that if we shut everything, we shut it all down. Well, we did. When COVID came around, we shut it all down, and pretty much, you know, the temperatures were supposed to go up by 6 degrees or some shit like that. Nah, didn't happen. Did not happen. Now, there's a lot of red on that. There is, and over the oceans too. Sure enough. A lot of those super red areas, like I said, are you know. So, and we had a lot of storms this year. They ran out of names. Hurricane season Wikipedia. Thank God. I just donated to Wikipedia. Thank God for Wikipedia. Yeah, you got to have like you got to have a neutral information source. That's why I donate to them. I donated $10. Good cause. The 2020 is the most active. Here we go. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season is the most active Atlantic hurricane season on record. Total of 31 tropical and subtropical depressions, 30 named storms, 13 hurricanes. 6 major hurricanes have formed throughout the season. It is the second season to use the Greek letter storm naming system, the first being 2005. 2005, there you go. Of the 30 named storms, 12 made landfall in the contiguous United States, breaking the record of 9 set in 1916. 30 named storms, 12 made landfall. The season was also the 5th consecutive season in which at least one Category 5 hurricane formed. During the season, 27 tropical storms have broken the record for the earliest formation by storm number. This season has also featured a record 10 tropical cyclones that have undergone rapid intensification, tying it with 1995. This unprecedented activity has been fueled by an ongoing La Niña. It has been the 5th consecutive above-average season from 2016 onward and the first extremely active season since 2017. Let me point out something real quick, like a buddy here. This upwelling here, right? Below average temperatures. So this oscillates. There you go. See that? That's in 2015. So this oscillates right off Peru, right in the equator, right along the equator. That temperature right there oscillates. It'll go warm and cold. And when it's cold and warm, depending on what these sea surface temperatures are like, then that's where you get your La Nina and El Nino from. Look at that big blue hole there. Okay. So, yeah. Right. Wow. So yeah, there's changes in sea surface temperature that oscillate. And so we're currently dealing with something that's fascinating. See that right there? That temperature right there is about 60-something degrees, 68-ish degrees. right? It's like, sea surface currents and wind directions and things like that. Zonal winds cause the differences in upwelling, changes in water temperature and stuff like that. So there's just no telling what kind of shit can hit the fan. And that's why you got to bring in the experts. That's why you got to bring in the PhDs to figure out exactly what's going to happen. But I don't have to have a PhD to tell you that was not, this blob of CO2 around the equator was not there 2 years ago, and that's going to do something. I'm sorry. And then there's a blob of methane there too. That's going to do something. And what's not in that space is ozone. There's less ozone, which shields the Earth from ultraviolet radiation. So there's a lot more moisture in the air there and stuff, but so it's going to do something. And some relative shit is hitting the fan. I mean, you see all that precipitation. I just saw like flooding on YouTube. I'm sitting here watching in Brazil. And I watch this stuff in a guarded sense. There you go. 6 hours ago. I mean, some really scary looking shit. 9 months ago. Where is that? It's in Brazil. So, yeah, it's flooding like hell in Brazil. Terrifying flooding in Brazil 15 hours ago. So, I don't know how old the footage is. You know what I mean? People will do copycat footage. They'll have some older footage from a different time or a different space around somewhere else, or whatever. So I'm not really able to verify it. But there are a bunch of videos that have come out about flooding in Brazil that look pretty horrific. God, that's a terrible, Jesus. That's like horrendous. That's 10 hours ago. I really don't like watching people in distress like that. Really makes you count your blessings when you see some shit like this going down. And we've been there. Six feet of rain in a shot. What was it, Hurricane Hugo or something like that? So there's some extreme shit. And one of the things that can happen, this is a really instructive thing to look at. The geopotential height is important. And the reason it's important is because it really tells you what's going on. You can see the air masses. The blue is pockets and the orange is like hilltops. And the air flows from the hill down the hill. But it's instructive to look at this so you can see where the air is rising, where the air is falling, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this blob here is basically over eastern Siberia. They can fluctuate wildly in temperatures, but in the wintertime, this gets cold first. Eastern Siberia gets cold first. Adjacent from an area of water that because of the higher heat capacity stays warm. And so these temperature differentials is what drives air movement. And air movement is weather. Those extreme differentials between very warm water and very cold landmass, especially when we're going into a grand solar minimum, because of those extreme temperatures, you can have weather systems that will lock into position. And this is, to me, is the real danger. They will become locked into position, and then you will have moisture like in this particular case, you can see it's being sucked up over from the Pacific Ocean up over Alaska and around, and it'll dump that moisture out on Siberia, and you can have massive amounts of snow. Just last year over here in Iceland, they had it was a 10 feet of snow, and the Alps. There were some 10-foot plus snow events. You know, when it rains for a month, or rain or snow, when it snows for a month without stopping, if it ever drops, like 20 feet of snow over a continent-wide area, that's bad news. You want to have some supplies and a ham radio. You know what I mean? Because your ass is going to be buried. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. So, and I've gone on ad nauseum about that, but that's why, that's what I'm looking at. That's the theory. Is it that you get that extreme differential of temperatures between the land masses and the sea, the ocean, because of the difference in the heat capacity, and that causes those weather systems to lock heavily into position, create the air movement that will draw the moist air from the ocean out over the cold landmass and just dump that frozen precipitation out continuously until you basically reglaciate. So that's, rapid onset glaciation is really a better term. Rapid onset ice age. We're in an ice age. We've been in an ice age for some couple of 3 million years almost. But we're talking about reglaciation. We're talking about a rapid onset glacial period, and from carbon dioxide. And that's it. That's all I got. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. I don't like to get in the weeds with the politics and stuff like that too much at this point. I do that on the News from the Can channel. But y'all, all I can tell you is, politics-wise, a deal with the devil is no deal at all. A deal with the devil is no deal at all. Make a deal with the devil if you want to. You can make a deal with the devil if you want to. But like Dr. Faust, it probably ain't going to work out for you. That's, you can figure out which side your bread is buttered on or whatever. But, that was how Hitler came into being. A whole lot of people made a deal with the devil, and it really ended up being not good. 60 million people worldwide. So we got enough on our plate. And that, and that's not, we could get, there's so much shit that could happen. We could get hit by an asteroid. We could have a super volcano. There's so much shit that can happen. We just had a pandemic, which could get worse. So let's get the experts, in position so we can have like a coordinated, some coordination, so everybody can keep eating their Hot Pockets and watching TV, fattening up as usual and not running out of toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep everybody in toilet paper. And that's it. My name is R. Crosby Lyles. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. Nothing to fear but fear itself. It is what it is. Pay attention. That's all. Pay attention. You ain't gotta watch my channel. This is all I showed you where to find all this stuff. Go find it for yourself. Argue about it with your friends and neighbors. Or argue about it on Facebook. And that's it. Take care. This has been News from the Can. Thanks for watching. See you.